Peter Richardson, Operations Manager of Homeless Services.
And how long have you been in that role?
Coming up 3 years.
With Haven?
Yes, yep.
And, and prior to that, you've worked with the department, haven't you? You've got a lot of experience in this area. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've worked for the department on a number of different occasions here in Bendigo, including child protection and with the Office of Housing, and worked with St Luke's and Centre Care as well. So I've been around the traps in Bendigo.
So a career really in that human services sector.
Yes. Yep. Started out actually in the homelessness sector for the Salvation Army in St Kilda, and I've done a spiral upwards, I guess, and I'm back in homeless services.
Mm. Homelessness is a tough gig because there's not a lot of housing out there, and there's certainly there's a massive shortage of emergency accommodation and transitional housing. So paint us a picture, if you will, of what it would be like and what it is like for people who are homeless in Bendigo.
Yep, look, as you say, there's very little housing actually around, but one of the dilemmas that we actually face as workers is that the sector and the community often think that it's primarily around the need for people to actually change their circumstances. But it's true that a lot of people that we work with do have mental health issues and behavioural issues that they need to address, but essentially they're homeless because there are no homes. So it's really as simple as that. So that's the dilemma we face on a day-to-day basis.
Mm.
So.
We've spoken to a lot of young single men today, and that seems to be a predominant factor, or the predominant cohort, I suppose, in homelessness. Is that true, or is that just the way it appears?
I would say that there are probably more homeless single men, but look, there are still a significant number of single women who are homeless. They're probably more the hidden ones, because a lot of people will actually accommodate a woman, helping them, giving them a couch or something to sleep on, and they might not necessarily end up sleeping in their cars like the men, but we certainly still have our a number of women who end up sleeping in cars and sleeping rough. So, yep, more men than women, but still too many women around looking for housing as well.
What are there any common themes about homelessness? How do people become homeless?
Lack of supports, both in the community and their family and friends connections. But essentially, it boils down to a lack of resources. You know, there's an old saying that money doesn't actually make you happy. Well, that's wrong. Money does make you happy. And if you've got the resources to actually find somewhere to live, well, then you're going to be better off. But most of the people that we're working with, they're on Centrelink payments, and it's not enough to actually be able to afford to get into the private rental market. And there's not enough stock in the housing stock that's vacant for people in Bendigo to get into. So.
Is it getting worse?
Worse. I can't see anywhere where there's any more resources actually being put in to build up the stock. So it's going to have to get worse. And look, we deal with people on a day-to-day basis that wouldn't have been in this situation not that long ago. I actually think there's a lot of people out there that are really just one pay packet away from being homeless. And I think it is getting worse. You know, we're losing jobs here in Bendigo. There's no vacancies in the private rental market at all, and all the available Office of Housing stocks got people in them. So it is getting worse.
What's the solution?
More housing stock. Really, that's bottom line. More housing stock. Yep.
If we had extra housing stock, emergency and crisis housing here in Bendigo,
more.
Well, how much do we need?
We don't have any.
I know.
Look, it's true that emergency housing stock is really just the start of the work that we do with people, because we want to get people to a situation where they've got secure and ongoing comfortable housing to actually live in. but we certainly need to start somewhere, and emergency housing stock would be the way to go. Now, how that's actually done, I'm not too sure. Whether it's more boarding houses or more motels that are available to take people on, on a casual basis, short term, or what, I don't know. But that's the start of the pathway, I guess, towards people getting secure housing. But we need to have the housing for people to move into in the long run anyway. So, yeah.
There's been a recent, a locally run campaign that highlighted homelessness. And Homeless Persons Week is, on a national scale, is about raising awareness, public awareness of homelessness. Is that enough to raise awareness, or do you think it's just something that it's a fad for a night or a week, and then it's forgotten about, or best forgotten about by the people who are comfortably housed?
Yeah, look, I think that it's certainly important. It bodes our work as well to know that people out in the community have a better sense of what their working life's like on a day-to-day basis. It's great that some organisations are actually able to utilise on these types of weeks where they can actually get the community to donate to add to their resources. But really, I think that's only a drop in the bucket. What's actually needed is a large investment of government money to actually increase the housing stock.
It's. Do you think that the issue of homelessness in Bendigo in particular, and other regional centres that we service, do you think that generally the community is unaware of the extent of the problem of homelessness?
I think they are. And I think that there's also a stereotypical view of who the homeless actually are. In my role, I visit schools and community groups and talk about our work. And I put up a slide of the typical, homeless person that you may find on the streets of St Kilda, for example. And then apologise and say, oh, sorry, I put the wrong slide up. And I put up a slide of just a normal looking family. Because I think that people have a view that it's the down and outs that we're actually working with. But we're working with everyday people, working with families, with kids that have just not been able to secure employment and not been able to maintain their housing. Yeah, look, I think that generally the community at large have got no idea of the type of work that we actually do.
And the extent to which homelessness is quite prevalent, particularly in regional centres.
Yes, it is. Yep, and it depends on how you count it too. If you've got a family living with some friends and they've got mum and dad and all their kids in one bedroom, a lot of people think that they're not homeless. They've got somewhere to live. But that is homeless. It's not their home. It's not somewhere secure, and it's not somewhere appropriate for them to be bringing up their kids in, because of the overcrowding issues. So, yep, look, the extent of homelessness is quite extensive, I guess, in Bendigo, and people don't realise.